yours. This is Cat Lady Justin, and this is the Kitty Boss, where we pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love. I'm here today with Dr. Rachel Geller, and it happens to be Valentine's Day. Take a look at that. How nice is that? So I'm at my partner's. I'm not at my usual recording place. So hopefully this goes all right. And obviously, what we're going to talk about today is things around cats and relationships, because cats have relationships with themselves, with you. You have a relationship with the cat. And let's remember what I always say at the beginning: it's pick, pamper, and protect, meaning how to pick the practically perfect pussycat for you, how to pamper your pet so that you imprint on each other, and how to protect your pet properly for a lifetime of unconditional love. But there's more to it than that. There's this idea that you take care of your cat, you pamper your cat, you do all these things for the cat. Well, it's not so much that your cat's then going to be grateful to you that you fed it and changed the litter box and all that, although that's part of it. It's very important that you do the action of taking care of your cat, because that makes you fall in love with it over and over and over again. Because I'm no relationship expert, I'm a cat expert, but I've talked to enough relationship experts and read enough books to know that they all say if you don't create your relationship again and again every day, it will eventually go away. And that same thing is true for your cat. If you do the actions, it makes you fall in love with your cat. In other words, the secret is giving, and then you will receive. But the giving also makes you love more. So that is sort of the topic for today. But of course, we're also going to talk about the cat's relationships with other cats, because we do get issues, don't we? And that's why we have one of the world's most famous and foremost cat behaviorists, Dr. Rachel Geller, with us, because she can help with advice. And of course, if you can't pay, you don't have to worry about it, because she books in at no charge, which is great, isn't it? And she also happens to be the president of All Cats All the Time. If you're in the United States and you're on low income and struggling how you can afford a cat, well, let's not worry about that, because All Cats All the Time can help you to fund some of the things you might need in order to have a cat. In other words, let's remove all the barriers to anyone having a cat, right?
Yes, let's remove
Dr.
those
Rachel, welcome, and
financial.
happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Justin. Happy Valentine's Day to you as well. Sending you love, sending you purrs. And yes, let's remove those financial barriers from having a cat, and let's help people keep their cats in their homes. And yes, let's talk about relationships, human to cat, cat to cat, cat to other humans besides you. There's so much to dive into.
Yeah, so why don't we start with what's possibly uh, a quite common thing, which is cat to cat. Because, you know, cats seem to be solitary creatures. They seem to be fine by themselves or with their human. They seem to be also fine with a sibling or another cat, but not always, not as much as they are with their person or by themselves. It seems to be a much more common problem of cats having friction with another cat. So let's start there. Let's start there.
Yeah.
The
And
best thing, correct
yeah,
me if I'm wrong, is the cats are brought together when they're young, when they're kittens. It's not always possible. I got Emily, and 2 years later, I got Charlotte. So obviously, Emily was 2 years old when Charlotte came into the picture. Not quite a kitten anymore. But they tolerate each other. They don't love each other. They don't cuddle and sleep together all the time, but they don't fight so much. They don't hurt each other ever. Thank goodness.
yeah.
So, is that right? If you get them early, that's safer.
If you get them early, if you get them at the same time, that's usually safer. Um, and cats do sort of get a bad rap. People do think that they're solitary creatures. And the fact is, they're solitary hunters, but they're not really so much solitary
Mm,
creatures. I mean, cats who live outside on their own form colonies, they form their own families where they live together and they work together and they hunt together and they take care of each other. The key to cats tolerating each other, and I'm using the word tolerate, we may not get to gleefully and joyfully
mm.
embrace, but we can definitely get to tolerance, is understanding a cat's need for her own territory. Cats are very territorial creatures. Territory is extremely important to a cat. And when somebody brings home a second cat to the household and just plops that cat, into the home, your resident cat feels like her territory is up for grabs, and that's extremely stressful. And meanwhile, the newcomer feels like he's been plopped into enemy lines, and that's equally as stressful. So the key to two cats getting along, to two cats tolerating each other, is a very gradual, slow, and incremental introduction between the two cats. You really need to take into consideration both cats. You need to understand the resident cat was there first, and that's her territory. And you need to gradually introduce that second cat to your resident cat, all the way keeping in mind the need for both cats to feel safe and secure in their own territory. So, of all of the elements, age, timing, type of cat, the introduction, a proper introduction, is by far the most important element.
The proper introduction. Well, they say first impressions count, right? So maybe with cats, it's the introduction is the first impression. And that's probably very important. And that's down to scent, a lot of it, isn't it? It's down to the smell uh, to a great extent, isn't it?
Yes,
But
cats
I do have to say that I have seen the occasion where visually a cat is hissing at its own reflection. Well, that's not going to be a scent problem because
it's a movement. Yes, they see the movement and they don't understand, what that movement is. It's scary to them, right? As you said, there's no scent, but there's definitely movement, and so they become afraid. They become a little unsettled, and so they hiss, hoping that whatever's causing that movement will go away.
that's interesting. Now, people have a relationship with themselves, and so do cats. When I brush Charlotte, Emily doesn't do this, but when I brush Charlotte, and there's quite a lot of fur that comes off of her because she's got long hair, long hair. Um, and if there's a wad of it, like let's say a ball of the fur somewhere, and like I put it on the table, she'll go up to it, she'll smell it, and then she'll start growling and hissing at her own fur. So obviously it's her own scent, but now she's like hissing at herself like a clump of her own fur.
Well, it's
And I never.
confusing, right? It's confusing. So, we I think a lot of people associate the hiss with aggression, but really a hiss is fear. It's confusion, it's fear. So it's unsettled, right? So she's a
Mm,
little confused and like, what's going on? Why do I smell myself over here? Clearly, not on my own body. So, if they get afraid, if they get unsettled, if they get confused, a cat will hiss. And it's not necessarily aggression, it could be merely confusion.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that does clear it up because
Yeah.
obviously she's perplexed at what
She's
the hell this
perplexed.
is.
Yes.
What is this thing? So then she's hissing at it. She's not actually going to attack it, but she's
No,
hissing at it.
she's
You know,
confused. She's understandably doesn't really understand, isn't comprehending what's going on. So, as brilliant as your cats are, Justin, and I know that they are, they are head and shoulders above all other cats. But yeah, that's a confusing thing. And when cats get confused, they will hiss. It's contrary to popular belief. Most people think a hiss is a sign of aggression. Um,
yeah.
Growls are aggression. A cat, when she rolls her ears back and down, That's aggression. She's preparing for a battle, and so she wants to protect her eardrums. There are a lot of cat signals that are aggression, but a hiss, contrary to popular belief, is fear, confusion, stress, different emotions
Hmm.
than aggression.
That's interesting. That's right. So there's another thing I wanted to make sure that we get a chance to talk about today. And, it's the cat smile. I think I sent you a message on uh, Messenger about this because there was an article recently that was talking about it. But of course, I think you and I have been mentioning this now for years, which is you smile at your cat. And I smile at my cats all the time. And you use this as a behavioral technique, when you're working with cats. But when you smile at a cat, it's not, it's and eyes wide and like, the Joker. A cat smiles like basically like a squint or a squinching of the eyes. So just like, which is kind of like a person. If you think about it, when you're smiling, you are squinting a bit. It's just
Yeah.
that the cat's mouth doesn't, move quite like yours does. So they can't go like that, but they can certainly, they got that part of it down. So
Yeah.
I do
The
that to my
smile
cats
and
a lot.
the closing of the eyes a bit and the slow blink are all things that cats react very, very positively
Yeah,
towards.
mine certainly do. I start
Yeah.
doing that to them. They do it to me. They get,
Yes, yes. Do the slow blink to your cat, gaze off a little aside, think of maybe looking over the cat one of the cat's ears and do the slow blink and your cat will wink back at you. It's quite endearing.
it is very endearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they then like start purring, which sometimes they do, or then come to me then and sit on the lap and be like, oh, sometimes Emily will look, will be on my lap and she'll look up at me and start doing that squinting thing, and I'm like, oh, I love you, Emily, and then actually she'll respond to the words I love you with a squint, which I
And
think is.
they learn. I mean, they don't know, of course, they don't know English, but they learn the syllables and the patterns and the sounds. And when they get a certain response from you, from them, it becomes almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They learn that if they do this action, you'll do this action, and then they can then do another action. And when that happens consistently, over a period of time, it becomes a habit. It becomes a little ritual that you have. The cat does learn and they will react to what you do and respond to what you do. So they really do notice. They do form relationships with us through their body language and their mannerisms. And,
Mhm.
some cats who tend to be more vocal, they'll even meow back and forth with their humans. So they will definitely respond to
Oh
us.
yeah, yeah.
When we respond
Mine will do.
positively,
Mine will have
yes,
conversations back and
yes,
forth, or
yes,
they will sing with me
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
Where we'll do a call and response, a bit like an audience. So yeah, they
yeah.
definitely do
I
that.
used to
Yeah.
have a cat that when I was working out at home, if I went to do abs, he'd lie down next to me and go on his tummy and roll around, like emulating what I did. And I thought that was so cute. Oh, Tuffy, that's so adorable. And I'd give him all kinds of affection. So, of course, every time I did abs, he would come and do abs with me, quote unquote, because I was rewarding him and giving him things that cats like, affection,
Mm.
using my voice in a soothing tone, petting him, telling him how much I loved him. So he would, they will definitely keep doing things that we respond to positively. And that's why with cats, positive reinforcement is so much better than punishment. They really respond to us offering a positive alternative rather than reprimanding them, which never
Oh
works.
yeah,
Yeah,
which never works
which
anyway. You
never
just
works.
scare them, and then they get scared of you, and
Right.
then that
And
takes
it
the
ruins the
relationship in the
relationship.
wrong direction.
Yes.
It degrades the relationship, doesn't
Yes.
it?
It certainly does.
So we are definitely against punishing your cats.
We are.
Don't do that.
Don't
So
do it. It
that's
does not work.
yeah. So that's what I wanted to talk about when it comes to the whole smiling technique, because anyone can do it. Anyone can slow
Yes.
blink or squint their eyes at
Yeah.
their cat, and develop that positive
Yeah.
relationship with the cat, and develop it, start to nurture it, because that's a trick that works really well. So, and
It
anyone can
works
do it.
right. It works well. It doesn't take long to learn. If any, there's no learning curve. You can jump right in and start that now.
Yeah, everyone knows how to do that
Yes.
with their eyes.
Yes.
Just squint. Squint.
Squint,
So I
wink.
wanted to ask about cat relationships, and those can develop, but sometimes we talked about going gradually. You bring in a new cat, there's an old cat there, you want to go gradually. But sometimes, let's say they've been together now 4 years, and then the relationship seems to go south a little bit. Well, I mean, that happens to humans, doesn't it? You
It does.
live together. I mean, I've certainly
Sometimes
gone through a
people need a
breakup,
break too. Yes.
and my I have family who have gone through divorces, and we've most of us have been sorry, I just dropped something, have been through that kind of stuff. Some people have gotten lucky and never gone through that, but most people have. And I mean, I think the same thing can happen with cats. They can be living harmoniously, and then
Yes.
something annoys them
Yes.
about the other, and then their relationship starts to go south, right? So,
Yes.
is there anything that you see as you're working with clients that is sort of a common issue or thread that triggers this cat to be, to start that? And is that savable, or once the relationship breaks down between the two cats or three cats or whatever, then that's it. They'll be enemies. Is
Yeah, well, the good news is this relationship can be saved. Like, so just like people might go to marriage counseling or couples therapy, we can kind of do therapy with our cats as well. But there are many reasons why companion cats might turn on each other. Common ones are when cats go through social maturity. So if you have companion cats and they're younger, between the ages of 2 and 4, or when those cats go through social maturity. And during that time, it's very important to cats to establish status and hierarchy within the household. So you may see cats turn on each other during that time. Other times that cats may turn on each other is through something called redirected aggression. There's something that the cat can't get to that scares the cat, and the cat becomes so highly reactive that her good kitty judgment goes right out the window, and she attacks her companion cat, and they go at it, and then they get into this destructive cycle of aggression, and they can't get themselves back out of it again. This might occur like one cat sees an outdoor cat out the window, can't get to that outdoor cat, or some other predator, and then takes it out on the indoor companion cat, or anything that might scare them, a new baby, um, fireworks, anything that might be scary. And, the same thing happens in people, right? You might have a rough day at work and you come home and take it out on your companion. So it's kind of on that idea. It's called redirected aggression. And
uh,
then there are all kinds of other reasons. Um, Non recognition, feline aggression is when one cat goes to the vet, one cat goes to the groomer, one cat might escape, all kinds of reasons why a cat might then return smelling differently. And because cats recognize each other by scent and not by visual cues, they think that now the returning cat is a stranger. It's some type of imposter. It's not their companion.
mm,
So there are many reasons why cats may turn on each other, but this relationship can be saved. And the best way to do that is to do what I call a complete reintroduction. And this means separating the cat and going all the way back, walking it all the way back to the beginning as if the cats have never met each other. So, going through that process that you would do if your cats are being newly introduced, replicate that even though they have lived together, but we want to get rid of those negative associations, rebuild the foundation from the beginning, go through the process, and we can absolutely get those cats back together again. So figure out what cat is the aggressor, or the one instigating the negative behavior. That cat would go into the sanctuary room, just like, if a newcomer cat comes into your household, that cat would start off in the sanctuary room or the safe room, the same thing, and go through that process of scent swapping and slowly getting them near each other and using food as a positive association and so forth. And if you go through the process carefully, your cats can actually grow to love each other once again. So yes,
Well,
from the
that's good
infancy
news.
stage.
So basically, just start over again.
Yes,
And you know what? People wish they could do this. A lot of times, people beg for this, right? You see it in the movies all the time. Can we just start over again? You
yes,
know,
we
but
can do
you know,
that.
usually people in the don't want to do that, but cats can totally do that. So I think that's great to know that you can just do that. But that's what you need to do.
That
You
is
don't
what
need
you need
to,
to do. Never leave fighting cats together thinking they're going to work it out and resolve their problems. That never happens. Um, we will need to facilitate that. A lot of people say, just look at me and sort of, oh my God, the kiss of death. I have to go through an introduction again. But it really works. Cats operate so much on associations that they have with each other, and um, they really respond to predictability, routine. So when you do a reintroduction, you're tapping into all of those things that cats find safe and secure. You're proceeding in a routine and predictable manner. You're adding structure. You're using scent, and you're going very slowly and incrementally. And cats don't like to be what I like to call flooded. They don't want to be presented with everything all at once and feel like they're drowning in the flood. They like to be presented with something new a little bit at a time, get used to the idea, and then you can present something new again. And that's why doing a complete introduction is so successful. And it really works. So don't feel daunted by that idea. We're talking about 1 to 2 weeks, and it will bring your cats back
Mm.
together again.
Oh well, that's good news
Yeah.
then, because I think that's something I've noticed. With my cats, is that sometimes they're like not getting along. And it's like, uh-oh, what's going on now? So I think it's good to know that you could just walk it back and
You can.
reintroduce them again,
Yes.
and hopefully that doesn't happen time and time again. Now we mentioned just very briefly non-recognition, aggression, or whatever. And I want to remind everyone, or tell everyone who wasn't with us last month in our New Year's, sort of our last episode, the previous episode to this one, where we did a whole show on that. And we had a special guest who, is an expert on that particular thing, and how important it is, whenever you go to the vet or the groomer, to be aware of the risk of this thing happening, this
Yes.
non-recognition thing. So we did a whole show. We don't need to rehash that, but we did a whole show just on dedicated to that. So that is a big deal, and it is something that can happen with cats and with so it's really important.
Yes.
Now you mentioned cats and a new baby. Now I'm aware of some superstitions that have been around now for the better part of probably 200 years around cats and babies. At least in England, there was this retarded superstition. And sorry, I don't like using that word, but I'm not using it against a person. I'm using it against a concept and a superstition, which really is retarded, which is this that a cat will like smother or kill a baby. Um, and that's just not true. Yeah.
No, I don't know
There
where that
is there
came
is no
from.
risk that your cat is going to
No,
murder your
no.
baby.
I never heard that until I became a cat behaviorist. I grew up with four cats and two dogs, and um, I was the oldest, so I had younger siblings. Never saw such a thing happen. I never heard of such a thing. And then when I became a cat behaviorist, people would ask me about that, and I was like, "What? Are you really even
What?
asking me this question?" But yeah, it's some type of superstition or old wives' tale. There's
Yeah.
zero validity to it at all. It's yeah,
Yeah, there's zero validity to it, and it's like the cat is going to steal your baby's breath, like it's like some witch, and it came from, I think, in Victorian times, or maybe even a little bit before that, in England, where there was a, a lot more crib death than there is today,
Uh-huh.
because this modern medicine was, well, there was no modern medicine back
Right.
then. It was still pretty primitive. So there was a lot more of that going on. And then there was a cat in the crib, because the cat was maybe alarmed at what's going on with this baby, or maybe it was trying to give it CPR. I don't know. But but it was like this superstition developed around that time. And I think that's kind of how it developed
Yeah.
historically. So it's just this complete illogical misinterpretation of cat, dead baby, must have been the cat that murdered the baby. That's not at all what happened.
No.
So
No.
it's not true. I
It's
don't
not
think
true.
any. But the other thing is, now this may be superstition, or it may actually be true. I don't know, and you can definitely help us with this one. The famous podcaster Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. He's,
Yes.
I think, the biggest podcaster in the world ever. His audience is huge. I saw a clip came up, probably because he was talking about cats. And so it came up on my feed, and I was intrigued by it, because he was saying that if you die in your home, your cat, and your cat's locked in there with you, it will eventually eat you. Like, it'll eat your face. And I'm like, oh, right. And he was saying that a dog will not do that unless it is like last resort, like it's literally about to starve to death. Then it will go ahead and eat
Same
them.
thing for a cat. A
And Joe
cat,
Rogan was saying that the cat will be like right in there, like,
no,
minutes after you're gone,
no,
it's eating your face off.
no.
And I'm
And
like,
you're talking to somebody who actually does rescue and has gone into homes where unfortunately somebody has passed. And if the cat had, there was food left out, or the cat was able to get into the garbage or get food in some way, the cat would be eating her regular cat food or some human food left behind. So that's the same thing for dogs is for cats. If this person dies and it's a long time, nobody realizes the person is dead, and the cat runs out of food, and the person is decaying, and the cat is starving, then yes, eventually that may happen. And I should say that humans have also done this to other humans in situations where something happened and they were starving, and that was the only and
oh
last.
yeah, yeah, well, they're in a cave
Yeah,
somewhere, and they're like
exactly,
stranded in the
exactly. So that
Himalayas or
I'm
whatever.
sorry that he is spreading um, that untruth, because it's not true. It's the same thing. If a cat has her food and there's things for her to eat, if somebody comes in within a couple of days and is able to get the body out, the cat will not have eaten the body. In fact, a lot
Yeah,
of cats will starve for up to like 3 or 4 days before um, they would do that. So it's a survival instinct, but not something a cat would immediately do.
yeah,
It would eat her. And as I said, I'm not just postulating. I'm a cat behaviorist, but I've also sat on many
mm,
cat shelter boards. I've done many rescues. I've been involved in getting cats out of hoarding situations. I've done a lot of boots on the ground work in addition to being a cat behaviorist. And I've gone into many apartments where a neighbor will alert a shelter or a rescue that she hears a cat meowing. She hasn't seen the neighbor. Can somebody come and check on the cat?
okay. So sorry, Joe
Yeah,
Rogan, and whatever study you allegedly read, it's not.
yeah,
It's just not true.
it's not true.
And studies, and he will know this because he's a skeptic on a great many things, in addition to being an open-minded person who likes to explore many topics. Oh, those studies, you can basically show or prove anything with these
This
studies.
is true.
You manipulate it and all
Yes,
that. So the truth is the reality that you observe in your experience in your real life. And in
yes,
real life, no matter what the study says, in real life, cats don't do this. The
no,
cat is like a dog.
yes,
It will need to be life or death starving last resort. It has
Yes.
no other choice. It's either going to
Yes.
eat you or die, and then it will do that. Otherwise, it's
Yes.
not going to eat its beloved owner.
No, in fact, I've had situations where the cat is lying on the deceased
Mm.
owner. So yeah.
Yeah, and not eating them. So
No, no, no.
again, so
Lying
we have
like
to say to Joe
afraid.
Rogan, you need to
Need to
maybe
get in touch with
correct
Dr.
that,
Rachel and Cat
or
Lady Justin so we can set you straight.
well, yeah, or have me and Dr. Rachel on your show so
Yes.
we can give you our experience and
Yeah.
our expertise and share with you the truth about cats, which is
Yeah.
that they won't go and eat and devour their owners. And so and we need to just fix that. So
No, I'm
either,
glad we were able to
eat your
debunk that.
words, Joe Rogan, eat your words, or even better, have us on your show and we can share our love of cats with a lot of other people who
Yes.
also love. Abraham Lincoln had a cat, and I know he loves Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln had a cat. He moved into the White House with his son's cat, his Tab Lincoln or whatever. He had a cat. Actually, the cat's name was Tabby. Tabby is not a very original name. I'm assuming it was a tabby cat, but he had a cat named Tabby. I know that. So anyway, there's been lots of cats, famous cats, and they haven't eaten their owners.
No,
So I don't think. So I'm glad we cleared that up because
we
it
did.
was something that I was thinking.
I'm
Is
glad you
that
asked.
true? I mean, because he talked about like a study and this and this. It was a brief video, but it's important to clear that up.
Yeah.
So I don't have as big of a reach as Joe Rogan does, but hey, maybe because I've dropped his name a few times, this thing will go out there. But the point is that no, the
No.
cat won't eat you. But wait a minute, if you're dead, if I'm dead, what do I care? What do I care? Go ahead and eat me, Emily. If I'm dead, I don't care. I'm dead. I'm not going to feel anything. Maybe my spirit leaves my body, and then I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to be looking at the body from up there, like in a movie, be like, oh, Emily's eating me. That sucks. But I'm not in the body, so I'm like, oh, well, I can't go back in there now and reanimate it because she's just eating bits of it off. But the other thing is if I do that, if I turn into a ghost and I leave I'm not going to be hanging around there. I'm going to be going flying all over the world. The last thing I want is to be, in that thing again. So I'll just be free, flying around everywhere, having a good time, and maybe, just maybe, go pick up a new one, like a young new model, or so, maybe a very in a very wealthy, royal elite family. I don't know what I would do, or maybe I just go fly around the universe. The point is whether you're spiritual and you believe in that stuff, or whether you're up in heaven or down in hell or wherever, or whether you're not spiritual at all, either way, you're dead. You don't need that thing anymore. So let the cat eat it. But the cat's not going to eat it, really, unless it's starving in the Himalayas and there's no other access to nothing. But, so it's not going to happen. But even if it did, who cares? You're dead. You're not going to, what's it going to do to you? It's not going to hurt. You're not
No.
going to know.
No.
You're not going to even know. So what is anyone worried about it for? So anyway, that's the bottom line, because I said so. I'm stealing that from another famous person, Stone Cold Steve Austin, a wrestler. I like wrestling. Anyway, so I thank you for clearing that up. I think that was very important to clear up. So is there anything else that you would like to say or tell us or advise us on for this sort of Valentine's Day relationships special episode? Because I think we've covered quite a lot of grounds: cats and cats, cats and people, people and cats, and hopefully it's been helpful to a lot of people. I think it should be if they listen and pay attention. They'll know that you can have a great relationship with your cat, but you need to you get out of it what you put into it, just the same as with a person. If you neglect your significant other, that significant other is then going to eventually go somewhere else, and or at the very least feel resentful, not that, but generally speaking, people then drift apart and then they're not together again. But that's because they're not creating the relationship. You gotta. Why do you think I'm here today? We're doing something to make this thing happen. And the same thing with cats. You gotta put into it so that you get out of it. And that's it. That to me is really the bottom line.
Yes.
So is there anything else you'd add?
I would just add happy Valentine's Day to everyone who's listening. And yes, enjoy your relationship with your cat. It's very special. Every cat is unique, just like people, and every cat to human relationship is unique and special in its own way. So, love your cat and enjoy that very, very special cat human bond.
Oh, for sure. And it's every relationship is different. The energy is different. What you get out of it.
Yeah.
It's just every cat is a very individual pet, a VIP, like I like to say. So that they're always it's going to be its own special energy, its special connection. Some more than others, But that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. For me, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I
And
think.
they all love us
Um,
in their own special way.
Exactly. And I personally don't think I could be very happy without a
Yeah.
cat, but maybe I shouldn't say that, but I just think that cats for me bring so much into life that I think is really an important part of what we want. And it's healing because they give you those healing frequencies from the purr. That's
Yeah.
also another study. How about that study, Joe Rogan? The study that the purr creates a healing frequency that is beneficial for stress, cortisol levels, and for the human being. And hey, what other creature does that? I don't
No.
know. I don't think any other creature does
No.
that, to be honest with you. That heal you with it's like it starts vibrating, and that's like a healing thing. I don't know, but that to me is great. so,
It
so
is.
that's cats, that's relationships, and again, yeah, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And if you're single, you know what? I don't feel sorry for you. If you want a relationship or you don't want a relationship, either way, you're fine. But get a cat. And if you already have a cat, then you're all set. You don't need a person.
Yes,
Person
and if
was
you want to
nice.
get a second cat, make sure you do a proper introduction.
A proper, gradual, slow introduction for any new cats that come into your life, and
Yes.
really any new people. If you're single and you got cats and you start dating, make sure that's gradual too. Don't all of a sudden here you go. That person starts manipulating your cats, picking them up, and all that. And then don't be surprised if they might be fine with it, but they might get a little scratch or something. So just be gradual with cats. Just like and people like gradual too. It's probably a good idea with people too. You don't want to jump in, the sack right away. For example, you want to take it slow. Same thing with your cat. Not that you jump into the sack with your cat, but I mean, not in that way. I mean, the cats sleep on the bed, and that's great, but you don't do that. But the idea is it's gradual is best with people too, with cats too. They're so much like people, aren't they? They're
They
just
really
so
are.
much like
They
people,
really are.
and it's just I think it's amazing. I love it. So happy Valentine's Day to you. I know you will probably be doing something with your husband, so. I hope you guys have a great time.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
yourself. Thanks for making time to record this quick show for us.
I
Uh,
wouldn't miss
I'm
it.
sure when people are listening to it, it will no longer be Valentine's Day because I won't have time to upload it after this recording. So it'll be a few days from now. But don't worry about it. It's still the love show or the love episode, and
Yes.
relationships is the key. So thank you very much, Dr. Rachel. And I will look at everybody and tell you this is the Kitty Boss. I'm Cat Lady Justin, and this is where we pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love. Tune in next episode where we will talk about more things, answer more questions, and because spring is dawning, we will have some things to say and some advice to give around that. Um, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that means that the recording is ended.